Hello there. What's going on, everyone? We have Armada Spoilers. We have an Armada and X-Wing stream starting in about 25 minutes. This is going to be a really fun stream. This is going to be a wild and crazy stream. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking about this after. Also, there's going to be follow-up videos. We're not going to be able to cover everything in this stream because I feel like there's just going to be too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk for a little bit about the spoilers that just dropped. So AMG is getting ready to do this Armada and X-Wing stream, and like every half an hour they've been dropping massive spoilers. So we've got all kinds of stuff to talk about. Look at all of these. Look at all of these spoilers. I'm running through them at warp speed. Oh my gosh! So we're going to talk about these. We'll get through whatever we can get through. We'll talk about some more afterwards. We'll have to see what spoilers come in. As soon as the AMG, X-Wing, and Armada stream starts, I'll be jumping over to that. You can watch along here with me. We will we'll definitely do that. Let's see how we are looking here. So yes, let me make sure I have that start. I'm going to restart in 1 second. Sorry about that. All right. Hello there. Once again, I had to just make sure things were set up, and things were certainly set up. So we're set to watch the AMG stream. I need to share this out on. We're going to share this on social media. Let's go ahead and do that, and I'm going to share this out on Facebook also. In case you guys aren't, there we go. So yeah, they've been dropping crazy amounts of stuff. We're also going to do some giveaways. If you guys were here for the earlier giveaway, I didn't forget, although I did forget to do it while the stream was still running. I hit the shutdown button and then remembered it's in the comments. It's a pinned comment in the other one, and then of course there's still the stream going on Discord right now. So here we go. All right, so that is there. What's going on, everyone? I think so AMG's been going nuts, man. They've been going nuts. We got a lot of Armada previews. We got Admiral Yularen preview today. He's coming. We got basically 3 cards for each expansion spoiled. I don't know if they're going to talk about these. I think this all deserves its own videos. And these are probably going to have to trickle in throughout the weeks. It's been a lot of Legion stuff lately. Now it's time for a lot of Armada stuff. It's going to be a very video heavy week, I think. Real quick, Admiral Yularen's 24 points. When a friendly ship resolves the squadron command, if it's spent a token, it may activate 1 additional squadron. That's good. When they resolve the engineering command, if it's spent an engineering points on the following repair effect. Oh man, like I barely even gotten to look. I only read the first half of that one. There's been so much stuff coming out. I have not even, it's like if I were a playtester, I'd know these already, so I'd have like a whole speech of stuff like prepared to go. But I'm seeing this for like the first time, like I'm sure a lot of you guys are. This is crazy. So if you guys are just tuning in, yes, we are going to be we're going to be doing the AMG live stream too. You can watch along with me. We're going to do an AMG live stream watch along. But this can repair squadrons. Spend 2 points to choose a friendly squadron at 1-3, and they just recover a hull point. That's so cool. That's so cool. He does 2 completely different things, and I love that. He's going to take. There's going to be a lot of different fleet designs based around this guy, but he's definitely the squadron commander. Right, you can go kind of heavier squadron tokens or heavier engineering. You can go aces to try to keep them alive. He's very cool. I like him. We've got Adigalia. I hope I'm saying her name right. She's an officer. When defending, when you suffer damage from an attack, you may suffer up to 1 of that damage on the shields of a hull zone adjacent to the defending hull zone for each defense token you spent during the spend defense token step. If you do suffer any remaining damage on the defending hull zone. So that's good if like you don't have much shields left. You can maybe redirect Embrace to like one side, and then you spent 2 tokens, so then suffer 2 of your damage on the other side, and the rest goes through. The problem is if you still had shields on the defending hull zone, some of it's going to go right through those shields. But in some cases that could be good, especially if somebody attacks you with like a medium-sized attack pool and there's no crits in it. You don't have to worry about the critical effect. You might as well just take the face down damage, since you can kind of repair that at your leisure. But that's pretty cool. I like the flexibility that gives you. That's pretty interesting. And she'll work well with Obi-Wan too, I think, as a commander. We got a really good officer here, Clone Captain Silver. We kind of saw him for a while. Nav, everybody loves Nav. Yeah. When you execute a maneuver during your determined course step, if you have not resolved a nav command during this activation, you may exhaust this card to increase or decrease your speed by up to 3. If you do, you cannot resolve a nav command during this activation. You can spend tokens from this card to ready it. So he lets you do massive changes in speed, and he's coming with the Pelta that can only go speed 2. So I'm like, that's a little strange. Like, he kind of wants to be on, I feel like, the consular cruiser, like the Charger C70 or something like that, maybe. But he's still pretty cool. I don't know. That's really interesting. Hope we get more faster. I mean, or he could work pretty good on a Venator too, if you need to do squadron commands and you're carrying and all of that stuff. That seems pretty cool. The Yularen artwork looks weird, not at all like the Clone Wars character. That's true. Well, this artwork is based on real-life characters, and the Clone Wars has its own CGI art style. So the art style for Star Wars Armada is more grounded in how a live-action version of these characters would look, which is in opposition to the way the shows are. The same thing goes with all of the Star Wars Rebels characters. Those are also... they look different in Rebels than they do when you get their actual cards. We got all 4 ships. Got some previews. I got time to run through them all because we have about 18 more minutes until the Armada Next Wing stream is going to start. Why the green shirt though? I maybe this was at the beginning of the Empire. Maybe this is like after Empire Day. That's a good question. Good question. I don't have an answer for you. I'm not the art director for that one. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, by the way, I want to thank the sponsor today, Luxury Playstyle. Be sure to check out Luxury Playstyle for all of your tokens related to X-Wing and other games. They are also working on some Legion tokens too, and hopefully one day we will get Armada tokens from these guys. Use code Crabbok VIP. You're going to save 15%, and on orders of $35 or more while supplies last, you get your free Crabbok token. All right, so we got our Venator preview. We got Plo Koon, Commander. While a friendly squadron is attacking a ship that is at distance 1 to 3 of a friendly ship, the attacker may add a blue die set to an accuracy to his pool. That die cannot be rerolled or changed. So it's going to be good for bombers. It's going to be good for just making sure that your squadrons get their damage through. So that's what it's an extra. You're not having to change a die or anything like that. So I like that. Friendly squadrons without adept gain grit while they're at distance 1 of a friendly squadron with adept. So he can basically he kind of gives all of your Jedi intel, right? Which is really, really cool. So he's gonna be fun. He's gonna be nasty. And I like that we have multiple squadron commanders now too, because I believe we're getting 2 commanders with every single one of these ships, which is really, really cool. Shipping to Brazil costs. I can understand that. That's unfortunate. I can't do anything about that. Sorry. Clone Commander Wolf. Very cool to see Wolf show up here. He's going to start with a squadron command, and he is going to require a squadron command to exhaust. During a squadron command, you may exhaust this card. If you do, you get to do 2 different things. Each of up to 3 squadrons that you activate without adept, so non-Jedi, basically, gain assault until the end of its activation, or at least non-named Jedi, I think, because I think the generic Jedi just have dodge, right? I don't know if they have adept right now. I've drawn a blank as hype overload, but basically, it's mostly going to be like your clones and stuff like that are going to gain assault until the end of their activation. Each squadron that you activate without the printed assault keyword can spend a die with a hit or I'm sorry, with the printed assault keyword, can spend a die with a hit or an accuracy to resolve the assault effect. You can spend tokens from this card to ready it. So twice, basically. Now, if you don't remember, assault is what gives people that raid token that stops you from doing a certain command. So he can give everybody, and assault basically says you can spend a die with a hit to not do a damage, like you remove that from the attack pool, but instead you put the token on there. Well, so if they already have assault, which nobody does right now, so this kind of soft confirms assault squadrons for the Republic in the plan. So like I don't know if they're in development because of the AMG takeover, or maybe there's another wave that's going to get spoiled with some LATs. Perhaps LATs would seem like the most obvious or most likely candidate for a ship to have assault. Maybe the Twilight could potentially have assault. I feel like there's a whole video on which squadrons are going to have assault, because obviously there's a plan for squadrons to have assault, or it's just good future proofing. But either way, if you have assault already, it upgrades the assault to now you can spend either a hit or an accuracy, meaning only a critical is a bad thing. You know, if that assault squadron happens to have bomber, then there's no bad results, and so that's also good too. Yeah, the Twilight could be an option. The Twilight was that B-wing, like that big thick, if the B-wing were combined with like a Chevy van from like the 70s, that's kind of a... Why do you always say no Discord? All hell, I don't get that. I would love for people to join the Discord. There's actually going to be some giveaways. By the way, we're going to do another giveaway for this stream. We've got some MC-80 cruisers, and we're also going to be doing the Ahsoka Tano giveaway. Here's how this is going to work. Ahsoka will be given away at the end of the stream. So if you play Imperial Assault and you're looking for an Ahsoka Tano, I'm going to announce the winner for that at the end of the stream. If you are... if you want one of these, I'm going to put one of these up on Patreon, and I'm going to put the other one on Discord. So if you're watching this after the fact, you still hop in Discord, check the giveaways channel. You may still and that'll probably be announced Sunday. So it's not going to be a hashtag Armada. It's not. I'll announce that at the end. It'll be a different hashtag for this one. Yeah, you have to stick around. All right. Then we got Ahsoka Tano. We can do a squadron command. A lot of squadron support, right? They definitely don't want people running no squadrons. Well, granted, you can always run no squadrons. I mean, there's lots of cheap ships to be able to run no squadrons, but they're definitely giving you incentives to run squadrons. Officer 6 points, a little expensive. Up to 3 non-unique squadrons that you activate gain Snipe 1 for each die in their anti-squadron armament, up to a maximum of Snipe 3. Until the end. And since most of them tend to have about 3 dice in their anti-squadron armament, it doesn't matter what color the dice are. Snipe exclusively is blue dice, however, though. So if they have like 2 red and a blue, they're still going to have 3 blue when they use Snipe. But Snipe is nice. It gets you around a lot of effects, gets you around counter, gets you potentially around escort, depending on your positioning. So that's kind of cool. And of course, if you're using blue dice reroll type effects or anything like that, it is pretty cool. So yeah, I think she's a pretty solid support type officer there. We got our Recusant preview. We're at about 12 minutes until the actual stream starts. I don't know if they're going to talk about these cards specifically, or they're going to talk about more cards or something else. I don't know if they're going to do too much with the future. I really don't know what this stream is going to, because they just dropped all of this. I mean, this stream is also covering X-Wing too. So if you guys are here for X-Wing, you are in the right place. Don't feel too terrible about that. Admiral Trench. I shouldn't be doing that with my throat as messed up as it is, but maybe that's going to fix it. Maybe I have to talk backwards for a while. Okay, so Trench starts with 4 dials. He's going to be kind of like Thrawn, but different. Thrawn has 3 dials. Trench, 36 points, dude, not cheap. This guy is going to be, a lot of people are going to ask questions about how you use Trench. We've already been talking about it in Discord in the rules channel. At the start of each ship phase, you may reveal and discard 1 command dial from this card. By the way, you're going to set all 4 of those at the beginning of the game. So you kind of have to pre-plan a little bit. If you do, you can reveal one, let's say engineering. Until the end of the round, when a friendly ship spends only a matching command token to resolve a command, the ship resolves that command as if it had spent a dial and a token of the same type instead. What this means is, if I have a ship that happens to have an engineering token, and I reveal Concentrate Fire, and I did, at the beginning of the ship phase, I revealed an engineering token from Trench, I can be like, oh, all right, I'm doing my concentrate fire command, but I'm also going to spend an engineering token to get maybe only like 1 shield back, because maybe it's a big ship or something like that, and maybe I've got an engineering value of 4. I would only get 2 for the token. Well, now because I revealed it matching, the engineer with Trench, on every ship that happens to have a single engineering token and only does the single engineering token, I can then spend that token, get the dial and the token, so that'd be 6 points instead of just 2 on an engineering 4 ship. Same thing goes for, so it's going to be really good for engineering. It's going to be kind of good. I think engineering gives you the highest benefit of it, because squadron, the command alone is good. If you do the command and the dial and the token, it's just 1 more. However, there's other effects here that, like, if you happened to have spent a token, then this happens, so it's going to trigger those effects too. Nav, the dial's the more important part. The token's not as great to have with it, unless, of course, you've got something that lets the token do more, like Nav Team or something like that. But yes, he's going to be weak against cards that get rid of tokens. So, you want to, like raiding parties, Assault is going to be really dangerous against Trench. He's going to be very vulnerable to that. But yeah. And TI-99, another T-Series tactical droid. He's a officer at 4 points. While a friendly unactivated, and that's the key here, squadron is at distance 1 to 3, it gains counter 3. Or if it has the printed counter keyword, gains 1 additional counter 1. After it performs a counterattack, toggle its activation slider to the activated side. I don't know how much I like that, but then again, counterattack is optional. You do not have to counter. I mean, I don't believe you have to counter, so you may, maybe it's worth the shot, because if you're going to be destroyed, you might as well counter anyway. So I guess that's it's not bad. And he's not too expensive for what he gives. Counter 3 is not bad on a lot of squadrons. I'm kind of okay with that. Yeah. Ion cannon batteries will really mess with. That's true. That's true. All right, a lot of folks join in the chat. If you guys are just joining, we've got about 8 more minutes until the Armada stream begins. We're just going to go on over a lot of these spoilers. We'll run through them again after the stream in case you missed it, or since this is YouTube, you can just rewind. I've also shared them all on Twitter, and they are all pinned. I think right now some of the admins have pinned them in Discord. So if you go to the Armada channel, you'll see, if you're not in my Discord already, you might want to get in there, because you can get yourself a promo in the giveaways channel in Discord, so make sure you do that. So we got Tykes or Tickies. I don't know how you pronounce his name, because I haven't watched the Akbar arc in Clone Wars in a couple of years, and I do not remember how they pronounced this guy's name. I'll have to go back and watch it again. When you reveal a command, you may place a matching command token on this card. If you do, gain a command token of your choice, which that sounds great. I'm like, hey, wait, I'm going to reveal Concentrate Fire, and I can get an engineering token of my choice just by putting a Concentrate Fire token on his card. That's cool. For only 2 points, a token of my choice every turn. That sounds great. There's a cost to that, though, because during the command phase, if you have a command token on this card, you must choose that command on each command dial to be assigned, and show those dials to your opponent, and then discard the command token. So basically, if you use his ability, the cost is you have to set that same command. So if I say, you know what, I'm going to do Nav. He's good on fleets that, because all of your ships have to do this, right? Each command dial that is to be assigned to you. Well, maybe that's just the ship. Maybe that's just his ship. Yeah, I think that's just his ship. I don't think you have to do that fleet-wide. But it's good on a ship that's going to do the same command every time, and then just wants some extra tokens handy. So, like, if you're a carrier and you want to also be able to do, occasionally do like a nav token and things like that, that's good. It makes you very predictable. He's like, I am going this way. I dare you to try and stop me, right? Like something like that. They're going to be talking about X-Wing and Armada, by the way. If you guys are asking in chat, they're going to be talking both games. And then we have our... whoops, did I say Recusant? That's the Providence. I said Recusant. This is the Recusant. How would he work for Command 2 and 3 ships? It's only the dials that you have to set, which in most cases will just be 1. The reason they said all dials that must be assigned is because there are effects that discard all of your dials, right? Like if you had a 2-officer ship and you used like that one officer that like discards your top dial in addition to whatever else, you might find yourself in a situation where you have to end up setting 2 dials. And so yeah, so there you go. All right, we got Martuk. This dude, insane. Maybe my new favorite commander. While a friendly ship is attacking, if the defending hull zone has at least 1 shield remaining, the attacker may add a red die to its attack pool. So for the beginning of the game, always extra red dice. Now, when there's no shields remaining, but the ship, while a friendly ship is attacking a ship that has no shields remaining, after rolling attack dice, you must cancel 1 attack die. That's really an easy payoff because, how often do ships have 0 shields remaining anywhere, right? Like, that's just really, really good. I love this guy. Pasel Argente, 6 cost. When you reveal a command, you may place a matching command token on this card. Then, if you have at least 1 of each on this card, you may gain an additional command dial of your choice. So he's a little bit of a build-up. And then once he's built up, you're going to start getting double. Wow. He's expensive, but he's potentially really good. Wow, he's really good. I hadn't even read him all the way. These just came out right before I started the stream. We've got San Hill from the Banking Clan. I believe he's Banking Clan. 2 squadron commands start on him. Officer, 3 points. At the start of the squadron phase, you may discard any number of tokens from this card. For each token you discard this way, 1 additional squadron at close range of you may be activated during each of your fleet's turns to activate squadrons this phase. Oh, okay, so I feel like that'd be good with the hyperwave signal boost, so you can get a little bit more out of the squadrons that you are activating. I'm not super crazy about him, but he's also not super expensive either. Yeah, so that's pretty wild. We are going to be starting pretty soon on the live stream. They are getting there. I think they are actually just getting ready to start right now. And I will be switching over. I'll be turning off my mic. I'll turn off my ugly face, and then we'll be watching. So you can just hang out with me until they get started. But we're going to be going over other stuff. We'll see what kind of spoilers they give us. I'm super excited. I hope you guys are excited. They showed X-Wing leaks just now. Well, I'm gonna have to follow up with that. It's too much, man. It's too much. They're doing too much. What are they doing, man? It's crazy. Well, now I gotta go. I gotta go and try and find it. I really like FFG, how they used to post everything just straight up on their. Wait, I don't see any. They didn't tweet it. It was a flash, like the cat. Oh, okay. They flashed it over. I got you. All right, I'm switching over to the. Here we go. I'm switching over to the stream in case they flash anything else. They're going to show us that. Okay. Well, I'll make sure I grab those things. That's going to be fun. Oh, man. A lot of stuff today. Make sure you guys check the links in the video description below. We are, we're going to have lots of discussions on this in Discord. There's going to be lots of opportunities to continue to discuss all of these cool spoilers. Hopefully my voice holds up throughout this weekend. And I think this is the last live stream I'm going to do for today. But there's going to be more tomorrow. And we'll talk more about that afterwards. So also, we're going to do those giveaways after the stream. So if you guys are interested in an Imperial Assault Ahsoka or an MC-80 Assault Cruiser Alt Art, there's going to be opportunities both here in the stream and on Patreon and in Discord to win some of those things. So make sure you check that out. Also, I'm going to be announcing the winner of the Armada upgrade card collection for Patreon. I don't know if I said I was going to do that yesterday or if I'm going to do that, or if I'm doing that today or tomorrow. But either way, they're also going to get notified on Patreon. So that's cool. We are close to getting started. Who is hyped? All right. Are they coming out with a Lucre Hulk? Well, Simone Elliott did say she was very excited. I'm going to switch back for a minute. Simone said she was very excited about at least one particular thing about what they're going to be spoiling today for Armada specifically. Since we did get a lot of alt art, I mean, it might have been like the Ahsoka card, for example. It might have just been a card that she was excited about, maybe about the art or something, something similar to that effect. But then again, they may have something else to show us from the future. You know, we might. I'll be really surprised. I don't expect them to kind of preview another wave of Armada yet, but maybe there's art they can show us, like maybe art of a Lucre Hulk, you know, or something to that effect. I have no idea. I'm just really excited. They should be starting any second now. Let's jump back over. Still waiting. Thank you guys who are all here hanging out today, by the way. We are going. Any thoughts on Cad Bane for X-Wing? I don't know. All right, here we go.
Hello, and welcome to the All Wings Report in X-Wing and Armada panel. We're real excited to talk about some sweet Armada and X-Wing stuff with you all. My name is Luke Eddy. I'm a lead developer at Atomic Mass Games. And joining us, we have some special guests here. Plumber, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Michael Plummer. I'm a game developer here at Atomic Mass Games.
And then we also have, oh, go ahead.
I was jumping right in. I'm Gavin Duffy. I'm a product line manager at Atomic Mass Games, and I've been working with X-Wing and Armada since 2017. So been here for a while. Behind the scenes.
Yeah, an old hat. So we're going to give you guys some info on what it takes to make these game lines, some of the different aspects of them in terms of what we do for design, what we do for development, and then what we do for production. So to kick us off, well, I should say, also after that too, we're also going to talk about some sweet spoilers too. So definitely stay tuned. We're going to start by talking about some Armada, and we're going to move into some X-Wing. So before we do that though, like I said, we want to sort of get into a bit of what we do, what our roles are. So to start us off, we're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to design these games. So the biggest thing that we do really in designing Star Wars games and designing X-Wing and Armada, it's all about bringing the Star Wars ships that you see on screen to life in the gameplay of a miniatures game. So that involves, well, first of all, watching a lot of Star Wars. You know, I think Gavin and Plummer can both attest to going through, all of the movies, all of Clone Wars, lots of hours spent on Wikipedia, looking up, still going through frame by frame sometimes of those shows or those movies, looking for, like, oh, exactly how does this look, and like exactly what does this do, what does it shoot, that sort of thing. So that's a big part of it. And we take that information and, it's about translating that into gameplay then. And there's sort of two things that we're always sort of balancing at the same time when we do this, which is, we're working with an existing IP. We're working with Star Wars, which is great. It gives us so much sort of to work with. Star Wars is awesome. And that's almost a job requirement of working here, is liking Star Wars. So we've got that covered. We're all huge fans of Star Wars, and we nerd out about Star Wars stuff all the time. So that's really a lot of fun. That's a really, fun aspect of the job. And we have all these sweet things from Star Wars that we want to put into the game. Often it's a matter of like, what's the next cool thing that we haven't added to the game yet? What's the fan favorite ship or fan favorite character that could be, a commander or, a pilot or an upgrade or something like that, and that really dictates a lot of what we put into the game. Now, what we balance that with, though, is like what mechanics actually are beneficial to the game. So something might work one way that we see in media, but if we translate that exactly one for one into how it works in X-Wing or in Armada, that can really imbalance the game perhaps. Star Wars is generally sometimes more of a fantasy and less of a sci-fi. And there's certainly sci-fi elements, of course, but when we do that translation into game mechanics, it's a lot of sort of considering what's cool that we want to see, but and how do we simulate that in the game mechanics of these game lines of X-Wing and of Armada, but also like what do those games need? If it's for a particular faction, what works within that faction, what creates synergies for the other ships that it's going to be flying alongside. So there's sort of a little bit of balancing needs versus wants whenever we do that sort of game design.
There's a reason it took this long to get Vader in the TIE Defender.
Yes, that is a great example. Yeah, where like it took a lot of careful consideration of like how we can do that right and like not just jumping the gun on it. So and then another thing I wanted to touch on too is just there's also consideration for ease of play versus interesting mechanics. X-Wing and Armada are both games that have been around for a long time. We've got a lot of dedicated fans who have been a part of the game for a very long time. And we also have new players though that we want to bring in, people who are just discovering these games. And so there's always a balance there too of sort of continuing to present interesting strategies and mechanics and opportunities for our veteran players, but balancing with the fact that there's a threshold where we always want to have mechanics and abilities and card text that is for the most part readily understandable. Players, it's easy to grok, to understand what it's going to do. It has expected results, that sort of thing. So there's a balancing act there too of trying to keep things fresh and interesting, but then also sort of, always being mindful that we're onboarding new players. Anyone could get into the game at any point, pick up any ship, so sometimes, one expansion will have these pilots are more geared towards, a higher complexity. These are for our veterans, and other ships in that same expansion that might be intentionally easier to fly, a little more straightforward. So that's also a balancing act that we always have to work on. So, I don't know if Plumber, you want to speak to any of that, in terms of balancing, that sort of like ease of play versus interesting mechanics. Feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I think that interesting mechanics are something that everyone loves, and it is very tempting to make something super cool because, I love this thing in Star Wars. I love this scene from the movie and I want to be able to see that on the table. But you do need to make sure that you don't need to look too deeply into the rules to understand how it works, that you can see the synergies and, cater to everyone that's playing the game and everyone who wants to play the games in all the different ways that you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, something we'll speak to throughout this panel is like, that it's not like we want to have like sort of like a lowest common denominator here or anything like that. Often, we have like a benchmark we're trying to hit, but then we'll diverge a bit. We'll do like, oh yeah, this thing is a little more complex or this thing is a little simpler. And I think, to what I was saying, a second ago, like that's part of our philosophy of like, not every single thing we make is necessarily for every single person. We have a wide audience, and we're trying to cater to different play styles, as well as experience levels. So, but I think that's enough for me about some of our sort of broad design philosophies. I want to get into some more specifics about actually doing development work. And we have some things we're going to show off today. We're not going to tease like way far out there stuff quite yet. So something we can talk about a little more concretely though, because we just put it out, is doing development for organized play. And that's something that Atomic Mass Games has been doing a really good job with, is creating sort of interesting game modes and experiences through their organized play. And that's something we're going to continue to do for these game lines for Armada and X-Wing. So Plumber, if you want to touch on, I guess, your most recent development work in terms of organized play and talk a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah, so first off, just want to talk about organized play broadly because it's such a huge topic and there's so many different ways that you can do it. And the way that I think about organized play specifically is it's an opportunity to play with your miniatures in a new and exciting way. I think that most people can look back at a time when they got into a game for the first time with all their friends and everybody was huddled around rule books and checking out cool miniatures. And there's this magic to a new game where you haven't quite solved the game, quote unquote. And I think that organized play is a great way to kind of reinvigorate that energy by changing things in how the game plays or adding new twists, new layers of complexity and flavors, and bringing people back to a place where they're just gathering with their friends, gathering with all the people that play the game in the area and playing something new and having that excitement again that can sometimes go away as metas grow stale or it's been a little while since something came out that you're excited about. Organized play is a great way to just keep that excitement about the game rolling. And the first thing that I've worked on here at Atomic Mass is the Unconventional Warfare event, which is happening right now. And that is a progressive gameplay event that runs over the 3 days of MiniStravaganza. It runs across all of the existing Star Wars game lines, so Armada and X-Wing definitely in there. It is focused on unconventional tactics. So kind of where I came from with this, the same idea Luke was talking about loving Star Wars and loving all these cool things and what we want to see. I was watching clips of movies and I went back to all my favorite battles from Star Wars movies. And I was looking at them and what I saw was the war in Star Wars is everywhere and it's constantly happening, but we don't get to see specifically, every skirmish, every battle that happens. You see a lot of it in Clone Wars. You see, classic, this is how the clones fight, this is how the droids fight. But when you go into the movies or the specific episodes that everyone's always talking about, it's always that something is different here. There's a different tactic, a different strategy. Something happened and they had to think outside of the box. So I wanted to try and bring that into these games for this event. And one of the ways that I thought to do that was to add some list building restrictions for fleet building and for squad building in Armada and X-Wing, kind of similar to the things that we do in Star Wars Legion. So I brought that idea over with the thought that, creating some restrictions and some limitations allows us to play with the balance of the game, add some new mechanics, and just do interesting things. So that's kind of where I came from with that. And hopefully it's going to encourage some different play styles and give people the way to play with their miniatures in a different way and have fun with it. So maybe you really love Squadrons and Armada, and if so, then Unrivaled Starfighters is great for you. Or if you absolutely love your Star Destroyers, Anvil and Hammer might be the way that you want to go when you play a game. And I think the fun thing about this specific event is that you don't have to pick one strategic approach for all your games. You can change that in between every game. You can try everything that's out there. So
Yeah.
that just gives you a lot of options with what to play with. And so then I talked about a progressive gameplay event. So organized play, there's lots of different things we can do, right? We could do a narrative event. You can do these progressive gameplay events. We could just do something completely off the wall. We were talking about Vader Down in the stream at the beginning of February. So that is going to be, something completely different. So there's all these things that we can do. And a progressive gameplay event is that it rolls on as the event goes on, and there are new layers of complexity and flavor that are added. It's an incentive to play the game over multiple days, a chance to, watch the complexity get deeper. I think these events are a lot like a delicious parfait or a trifle. They have lots of layers of really delicious things, but they're really at their best once you've kind of dug in and all the flavors have mixed together and you get everything. So I think that's a lot of fun. I hope everyone else has a lot of fun. And another big thing to remember with these is that you have all this information now. It's right in front of you. So, 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road, in 3 weeks, whenever you want to play Armada, you want to play X-Wing, but you're not really in the mood for a normal game. You can pull these out and you can play these games. You can play one game a week and then add in the perks over time. Really organized play is great because it just broadens your experience with the game, the things that you can do with it, and gives you lots of ways to make new friends and play with the friends that you have.
Yeah,
my first experience
awesome.
My first experience with X-Wing was actually being introduced by a friend. He brought it into where we were working at the time and busted open his The Force Awakens core set, and we played together on a ping pong table. So it doesn't always have to be these high-level competitive events to get into it and just enjoy the game.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, Plummer, you touched on a lot of things there that are what we're trying to do here is sort of give you permission to play the game in different and interesting ways, again, like a big part of minis games is that sense of ownership of the miniatures. You know, whether it's collecting X-wing ships or it's, maybe you're repainting them even, or for other game lines that involve even more hobbying, there's that sense of ownership of the miniatures themselves. And like, you can do whatever you want with those, and so like these organized play things, what we want to sort of get people to help them understand is that you can do whatever you want with these, and so they're sort of giving you permission to play in interesting, exciting ways. And I hope people check out the Unconventional Warfare organized play event. It's online right now, and as Palmer alluded to, like, yeah, we want people to play right now and sort of participate in a global event, but these are going to stay online, and that's going to be true of all of our organized play materials that we put out. So you can go back and replay these, and maybe you set up your own little event. It's you and your friend, and a couple other people create a league or something like that, and you play these progressive games with each other. So really we're trying to, like I said, give people different ways to use their miniatures.
And you touched on something that is really impactful for me when you were saying, you can do anything you want. You can play with these miniatures. You can play with these games any way that you want to. My career, my education began in the theater. I was an actor, and there was a thing that directors would often say, and they would, when people were getting too stiff and not doing well in their acting, they would say, it's called a play, not a serious. And I think that applies here to games too. Like, it's really easy to get really stuck into what's the most optimal play, what's the perfect way to play this game so that I win. And it's okay to just play with your miniatures sometimes and just have a great time and make pew pew noises and throw some dice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, some of the most fun I've had playing X-Wing was playing Aces High before it was Aces High, when it was just known as Furball, and it was just a fan mode, like just one ship, just each player dogfighting. You're playing with more than 2 people, 3, 4, 5, any random number. So there's a lot of different ways to play it, and we want to encourage that for sure. So cool. And then I believe we have hinted at the fact that there are, as a part of the global OP event, that there is going to be sort of some rewards, if you will, for which side, the light or the dark, happens to sort of like perform better here. So Plummer, do you want to let them know what they have to look forward to?
Oh, of course. So we're going to be doing some alternate art cards for some upgrades from X-Wing and Armada. And again, like Luke said, depending on which side wins the event, the light side or the dark side, it's going to theme the art. And so for this event, we have chosen for X-Wing, it is going to be an alternate art for the Force upgrade card Sense. And for Armada, we're going to have the Fleet Command upgrade card Intensify Firepower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So get your games in so you can get what you want.
Best. Exactly. Yeah. If you play, the Empire or Separatists or something like that, and you're like, oh man, I want the alternate art card of those to be some sort of dark side themed, Separatist or Imperial themed card, get those games in, so try and sway the balance of the Force, if you will. Cool. All right. So we're going to move on from design and development here to touch on sort of a less talked about aspect of designing or making these games, but is equally as important, which is what it takes to produce them. So Gavin here, our project line manager for Armada and X-Wing, do you want to touch on just what it even is that a project line manager does?
Yeah. I'm not the face of the game like these 2 beautiful guys here. So not a lot of people know who I am, and the fact that you don't is probably means I'm doing my job all right. I'm doing a lot of background work, kind of, making sure all the departments really work together to make the products really come to life. That's working with the developers, that's working with the art team, the sculpting team. It's also working with external production and our manufacturer. I play a big role in the licensing, working with Star Wars weekly. It's anything from bringing questions to them like, hey, this is a really cool blaster. What's it called? Simple stuff like that, to more complex things like, we really want Lando to be able to do this really thematic thing on the tabletop. What do you guys feel about that? Like, what's your response to that? Kind of heading those types of conversations and trying to make the product come together as cohesively and as strongly as possible. As Luke kind of hit on earlier about reviewing all the shows and the movies and the media and the comics and the novels and all that stuff, a lot of times what I do on the side while at work is like, all right, you know what, we're going to do the LAT finally. It's super cool and we want to see it in X-Wing. So then I will go and look up every Clone Wars episode that the LAT appears in and every movie that the LAT's in and watch them and find the iconic battles, the iconic pilots, who rides in them, what kind of things we want to highlight in the art, any sort of weird special things that we see it do that I can bring to the developer and be like, hey, there's this really weird maneuver that it does. And a good example of that is in Heralds of Hope. When Poe Dameron in the Resistance cartoon teaches Kazuda to basically drift around an asteroid with his X-Wing, we thought that was really interesting and would be a perfect place to bring in an X-Wing specific upgrade card for that. So I brought that to the developer's attention and we kind of worked on that together. So sometimes I help bring a little inspiration if the developer is having a hard time. If there's 8 to 10 pilots, it can be hard to come up with new ideas for the ship in one product. So then somebody comes over who's not just totally immersed in the mechanics is like, hey, what if it just did this weird thing? And like, oh, okay, kind of think about it and work on that. So I also work a lot on the physical miniature that you see. I'm not a sculptor. The sculpting team does that, and they do an amazing job. But the paint jobs for X-Wing and Armada, I have a big hand in that. Researching the schemes, finding reference for that, sometimes even hand painting the model or the miniature for production and sending it off. And then I do all the approvals. They send me all the test shots and the big papers full of cards that are huge, but not the actual card before they print it, and just checking for those kind of errors. So there's a lot that I do. It's kind of widespread across the company.
Yeah, it's sort of what don't you do, Gavin? a little bit of everything, making sure everything's on track.
Yeah, these project line managers are like the lifeblood. They make sure everything happens, right? Everybody else has one little piece of the puzzle, and y'all get to sit there and put it all together and maybe add a piece. And I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to be able to work on kind of all aspects, but also you get the anxiety of every department at the same time.
Very true. Yes, I do. One thing I do appreciate is that Gavin now knows the engine color of every single Star Wars ship, because he had to be the one who double checked, because we added engine glow to all of the X-Wing 2.0 ships, and he had to be the one to go through and check what is the engine color of this ship and that ship and this ship and that ship. Yeah,
the engine glow was a unique experience because I think it was the TIE Whisper. No, it was Kylo's TIE, and I was like, hey, we should really add this red in the back because it's really unique to this black ship that doesn't have a ton of defining features. And then, the people at the top were like, that's a pretty good idea. Put it on all of them. And I was like, oh, okay.
The best part is that is information that is going to live in your brain for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Just like
cool.
Luke can name every blaster.
I know, right? Yep, every blaster that's been in Legion. Yes. So cool. That's great, Gavin. I really appreciate you touching on some of the aspects of your job, because like I sort of said, you're sort of an unsung hero and an important part of these game lines and making them happen. Well, I think we can move on to some more specific Armada talk. So we've got some cards to talk about, and we have, I think these are already available on the Atomic Mass Twitch. You can look these up and see what we're talking about. So go check those out. We're going to talk about the new Clone Wars factions for Armada. They've already had one set of expansions, and we're going to be talking about the next one coming out. And so I think briefly, I'm going to touch on a little bit of some of the faction identities for these new Clone Wars Armada factions, and then we're going to talk about the cards and see kind of how those cards illustrate these. So first up, we have the Republic. And so one of the, in terms of designing the Republic for Armada, ships were pretty easy in that, you know, it's kind of, these are precursors to a lot of the Imperial ships. So taking the designs of those Empire ships and tweaking them a little bit to be like, oh, here's the, you know, the sort of precursor version of this. And in some instances, in the case of the Pelta, one of the new ships coming out here, it's sort of the precursor to a Rebel ship that we saw in Rebels, the Phoenix One, Phoenix Home, and then Phoenix Home, right? So sort of the Republic is borrowing from a lot of existing designs, whereas the Separatists, a lot of those ship designs are pretty unique. You know, one of the main developers who we had working on this line was the illustrious Franklin Simpson Brooks, Frank Brooks, as we all know and love from X-Wing. He got to do a little Armada design for us for these expansions specifically, and he, you know, tried to do some interesting sort of unconventional designs with the Separatist ships, since they weren't really borrowing from any previous iterations, or they weren't really precursors to any other ships we see in the Star Wars universe. So, you know, a lot of the Separatist ships are sort of brand new in a way, if you will. And there's some sort of interesting iterations there. And a lot of these new factions have those sorts of like parodies but differences. You know, another one being that the Republic does a lot of has a lot of effects where you have a powerful commander, or, you know, a named squadron, unique squadron that buffs a lot of generic squadrons. You know, so you care more about your generic squadrons because you can get them to perform better. You know, it's the clones are all, you know, seem at face value sort of all just, you know, the nameless, faceless clones, but they actually, you know, as the Clone Wars goes on, they develop personalities. They're each unique individuals, you know, and sort of that's reflected in the gameplay of the Republic faction. You know, they care about those generic squadrons. Conversely, you have the Separatists who, you know, a lot of their abilities, for example, the General Grievous, he's just, you know, throwing squadrons into the grinder, you know, just bodies, you know, to just screen and block and protect him.
General Grievous.
Yep, very General Grievous. And it's again, that's sort of reverse where like, oh, they're both playing with sort of non-unique squadrons, but the Republic cares about them, whereas the Separatist is just, you know, just more bodies thrown at the problem. And then I think another interesting sort of difference between them a little bit is that the Republic is trying to like play smarter in a way, sort of have, and this is exemplified in some of the Jedi commanders, you know, sort of playing outside of the box a little bit, being a little unorthodox. You know, that's Anakin's, of course, the epitome of that. That we see in the Clone Wars. But the Separatists, on the other hand, you know, they don't really have a lot of imagination. You know, they're very sort of like straightforward goals, but they're very, very efficient about it. You know, so they're sort of trading efficiency for being a little predictable sometimes, you know, a little short-sighted, if you will. And so I just wanted to touch on those aspects. Oh yeah, go ahead, Plummer.
I was just going to say that Luke and I had one of those like deep philosophical conversations about the themes in Star Wars and all the cool things you see just yesterday when we were talking about this stuff, getting ready for today. And I just really like the idea that when you look at, you know, the Galactic Republic versus the Separatists, you know, the idea of the clones is they're all the same person, right? Like the same body, same muscle mass. You know how your troops are going to perform, which is kind of the same idea as the droids. So you kind of get this idea of the efficiency of humans that can make a decision, right? Because the clones have personalities and they can make an independent thought and do something, versus the absolute efficiency of a droid army that is programmed, that does not make independent decisions. And I just think it comes up a lot in these upgrades, and you can see it in the design of these two factions in particular. And I think it's really fascinating and really fun.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yes.
I know the developer of the first wave of Armada, Michael Gurnis, really kind of what you touched on earlier about the, he had a lot of fun really balancing the Empire versus the Galactic Republic. So you're not just balancing, you know, the Republic against the Separatists, because you have a whole body of existing game products that you're trying to match and balance with as well. And, you know, the Venator, which Michael didn't work on, but is basically the precursor of the Imperial Star Destroyer, right? How do you make that feel the same but act differently and really fit into these themes that you guys are discussing. And it was kind of a lot of fun hearing him bounce ideas around the room. Back before we worked from home, we were all the developers and me were all in the same room, and it was constant talking, and it was a lot of fun, and a lot of crazy ideas whizzed around.
Yeah. So I think we have some card reveals now that we can show off, we can work through. And Plumber, you're going to walk us through these. And as I was alluding to, like these sorts of different faction identities are going to come through in these cards we're going to talk about. So
yeah,
go
very
ahead,
much.
Plumber, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, so first we're going to look at some of the remaining upgrades for the Pelta class frigate expansion. And just as a reminder, that that expansion gives you options for the Pelta class transport frigate and the Pelta class medical frigate. They're kind of a middleweight ship for the Republic. They both have engineering 4, so they stick around for a long time. They're very exciting. So let's start off with Admiral Yularen. So Admiral Yularen is a commander upgrade, so his ability affects the entire fleet, and he kind of brings a new meaning to squadron superiority, right? So he gives a fleet-wide bump to the efficiency of your squadron command tokens, and that makes early squadron commands really, really good because you can hold on to those tokens and use them later when they're more useful and kind of fit them into your tactics. And then he also has a repair squadron ability, which is unique and new and very exciting. It's a great way to kind of protect your investment in your squadrons. And I think it gives players a little bit of agency about which of their squadrons are going to survive to make their attack run. So if you really need, your bombers or a specific unique squadron to survive, this is a tool that lets you do that. It lets you fit that into your play style and keep it central to what you're trying to do and not just get it shot out of the sky on the second turn. So then after that, we've got Adigalia. And Adigalia is an officer upgrade, so will only affect the ship that she is on. And she's very low point upgrade and adds some damage mitigation, excellent value over the course of the game. The effect is small, but it adds up. So if you read the card, you get the effect for every defense token that you spend. So if you're taking a big hit and you're spending a bunch of tokens already, you get more benefit. So that's really useful. And it's also worth noting that it synergizes really well with the commander Obi-Wan Kenobi specifically. So if you look at those two together, there's some fun synergy there that just makes your ships even more survivable. And then lastly, we have Clone Captain Silver. I was going to say Commander. Clone Captain Silver is, again, an officer upgrade for the Galactic Republic. And this guy has a serious need for speed. His ability allows you to increase or decrease your speed by up to 3, as long as you have not used a navigate command and then doesn't allow you to use one later. It's a huge swing in your back pocket. It can get you positioned to unload your payload, or you can get out of trouble real fast. I think it's a really cool ability, very unique. You only get to use it a few times per game, possibly, but it's pretty wild.
Yeah, well, and on Clone Captain Silver there, I do want to point to something interesting that that Frank was doing design-wise with this wave was, and you're going to see this in a couple of the Republic upgrades, is the idea of like, hey, it's a one-time effect, but actually, if you put in the investment, if you want to, you can reuse this one-time effect. So he starts with that token on him. He can just spend his own token in order to ready his card again. So that's your free use basically, but then you can continue if you want to actually pay the cost to reuse him multiple times. So, and I feel like that, it's an interesting little twist on some existing mechanics in a clever way. And I think, it fits with the Republic theme a little bit of like, these clones, these soldiers, being a little more than meets the eye, at face value. It's like, oh, they seem disposable, but they're really not actually, over the course of time, they can continue to perform, they can continue to, really, drive the Republic Army and be, the core, the heart of the army. So I think it's a cool little twist, and it fits well with the theme of the faction for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. They can learn.
Exactly. Yes.
Pardon me. So now we're gonna talk about some of the upgrades that are in the Venator class Star Destroyer expansion. So we've got Plo Koon is a commander upgrade that helps improve the offensive efficiency of your friendly squadrons. He ensures accuracy icons during their attacks, so you're able to shred through defense tokens pretty easily. And then his second ability synergizes extremely well with a lot of the unique pilots for the Galactic Republic, and also with the Delta 7 Aether sprites, giving little pockets of adept throughout your your squadrons gives grit to everyone else. You end up with these really mobile pockets of squadrons that can go where they want to go and take care of threats effectively. And it really kind of showcases that the way that the clones would fight is the Jedis would lead them and would give them orders and aid them with the Force, and it kind of improved their efficiency even beyond what they had from knowing exactly how these clones are going to perform in battle. So Plo Koon is absolutely awesome. Very excited about him. Then we've got Ahsoka Tano. So Ahsoka Tano is an officer upgrade. So again, only one ship on this one. And it gives you more options for eliminating enemy squadrons from a safe distance by giving them snipe. So it specifically affects your non-unique squadrons. And again, I think this one showcases really well how the Jedis work in tandem with the clones. So if you have enemy squadrons that are coming in, Ahsoka can give snipe to a bunch of your squadrons. And then all of a sudden there are no more squadrons there anymore. If things work out well with the dice, that's always the factor. And then lastly on this one, we have Clone Commander Wolf, another clone commander, which I love. And Clone Commander Wolf, another officer upgrade. And his ability gives you a chance to use your squadrons as stronger supporting pieces for your ships. They dole out raid tokens to enemy ships that you're trying to take out with your own large guns. And then you get to just take care of them with your ships. Very, very excited about Clone Commander Wolf. I think the clone commanders are awesome. I'm very excited about them. I've fallen in love with clones recently. So yeah.
Well, Wolf is also just the best. So other than Rex, but
I mean, they're both pretty cool. It's
I know Will,
I know Will will agree with. Oh, go ahead.
Wolf. I was just gonna say I know Will Schick really loves Wolf too. So.
Well, and if we can just go back to the those cards quick, I just want to point out that Wolf also has that same sort of clone mechanic we mentioned with Clone Captain Silver, where he starts with a token, but he has to spend the token, etc. But you can get extra uses out of him by just paying the cost of the token up front, from your own ship rather than just using the free one on him. And again, it's that sort of sense of like, the clones aren't just like expendable bodies. They can continue to influence the game. And the other thing I like about these three cards here is sort of the nod to the relationships of these characters in the show, because of course Plo Koon led Wolfpack with Clone Commander Wolf, and so they have an obvious synergy there. But also Plo's bros, exactly. But also at certain points in the Clone Wars, Plo kind of mentored Ahsoka a little bit, when she needed sort of, guidance from a much more calmer, much more wise, sort of methodic sort of Jedi. And so it's cool that they have a little bit of synergy too here. So a lot of cool combos you can make. And again, that was very much a part of the intentional design of the Republic faction is, like, hey, there's these cool new named characters, and they have these interesting relationships in the show, and that's an easy way for us to look at incorporating synergy as a nod to those. So,
yeah, and since we're talking about that, Ahsoka in the art there, that's the costume from early in the Clone Wars, and very, very early in that series, she gets extremely comfortable giving commands to the clones. Like right away, she's like, "I outrank you because I'm a Jedi, right?" And that showcases here in this card. Like she's telling the clones what to do, and it works because she's good at what she does. Very, very fun. All right, so moving on.
Now we got.
Go ahead.
No, I was just to say, now we got some bad guys to talk about.
Oh, we do. So this is from the Invisible Hand expansion pack. So we've got the officers and the commander from that. So again, let's start with the commander. We're going to talk about Admiral Trench. He's a commander for the Separatists, and as you can see, he starts with 4 command dials on him. And what I think Admiral Trench does is he rewards a playstyle focused around coordinated movements and assaults. So if you can plan really well, knowing that you're going to have 3 or 4 of your ships do the same command, rather than get the bonus from a token, you get the bonus from a dial. So it just increases your efficiency if you're planning well. And I just love things like this that reward that careful play and that really planning ahead, especially in Armada. Like the whole game is about planning ahead. So the little bit of a hamstring on that you have to do the same thing with all these ships just really requires you to really tweak that in. I think it's a lot of fun. And then, so moving on to the officers, we've got TI-99, is that droid there, and I think he's great. So the ability on him is, it's sort of an insurance against enemy squadrons. So it gives some of your squadrons counter as long as they're close to a ship, which means that they can shoot back if they're fired on, even if they're destroyed. But the drawback from that is it's not as strong as regular counter, because if you use that counter, it does toggle the activation on your squadron. So there is a cost to using it, but at the same time, the ability to counter strike against the squadrons that are firing at you can open up holes for your ships to move through, or for other squadrons to get where they want to be. And it's just another option, and really plays into that idea of the expendable droid army. You know, they're just going to sit there and keep firing no matter what is shooting at them. Like, shields are failing, no problem, still can shoot.
Well, and that's that counter keyword too. If they're eliminated, they still get to use it, and that's very much in line with the, like, you know what, you know, just throw bodies at the problem. You know, just shoot back. Yep. It's fine if you're dead. Like, it's fine if you're destroyed. You know, you're just a robot anyways. So yeah.
And then we've got TKs. TKs is an officer for the Separatists as well. He's an inexpensive upgrade, and what he does is he gives you a little bit of versatility now, but then locks you in for the next turn as to what you're going to do. And if you know TKs as a character, you know that he is known for making a very rash decision and then regretting it a lot. So what I think is really fun about this upgrade card is that it gives players a chance to make their own decision of necessity and then deal with the fallout later. So I think it's a really great way of kind of getting TKs into the game in a way that makes sense for the character, and is also a fun and useful card.
Yeah, no, this is, Frank did a great job, like, borrowing from the theme of, like, what happens to this character in the Clone Wars for this card, because this character basically sells Moncal to the Separatists, and then immediately regrets it. So, like, this is very much a, like, you know, oh, up front, you know, great, you know, flexibility, you know, interesting play, but then you've sort of handicapped yourself in a way where, like, oh yeah, like, now you have to deal with the consequences.
Never fun. And so lastly, we have some upgrades that are in the Recusant class destroyer expansion. So again, start with the commander. We've got Martuk. He's the commander for the Separatist Alliance. He gives you an extra red attack die for your ships when you're attacking enemy hull zones that still have shields. But you have to cancel an attack die, when you attack ships in a hull zone that does not have shields. So it gives you sort of this front-loaded power coming in with overwhelming fire and taking down their shields and kind of whittling them down. And then once you're through all that and all the bluster is gone, and, you know, kind of Martuk's hubris shows up because he's obviously won, then there's a chance that there's some mitigation there. So it may not matter much if you roll average, because you can just cancel a blank. But when you roll really hot and you have all dice that you want to keep and you have to get rid of one of them, and that's the reason that the ship doesn't go down, you're really going to feel it. And I think that's very Martuk. I think it's fun. I think it's very exciting. Then we've got,
definitely, and it sort of plays. Oh, I was just going to say, it sort of plays into that overconfidence a little bit. You know, where up front he's like, you know, like, you know, like, I got him on the run. You know, specifically with Anakin, you know, he thinks he's got it all figured out. He's made the first volley, you know, etc. But, you know, it's a little bit of hubris there, and, you know, you may do well at the beginning, but you may put yourself in a position. You know, a lot of these Separatist cards were like that. Those short-term gains may have, you know, will have consequences later in the game. So you need to capitalize on those initial gains in order to make up for deficiencies later.
Yeah, and really also just cool, it makes choices matter, right? Like, do you want to attack more sides that have shields to eliminate those so that your squadrons and your other ships have more places to shoot where they're doing real damage? Or, you know, do you want to try and take down one whole zone of shields and then crank into the ship? There's lots of different ways to play it, lots of different decisions to make, and it also throws a lot of choice into your opponent's side with, you know, which side do I want to show to my opponents? Maybe I should show the side that has hull open because they're going to have to cancel an attack die. It gives you lots of moving parts to work with. So Sand Hill is an officer upgrade also for the Separatists. So he gives you like 1 or 2 turns of a little bit of that squadron superiority. So what he does is he lets you spend the squadron tokens that start on him. He starts with 2. And for every one that you spend at the start of the squadron phase, each turn that you get to activate squadrons, you're going to activate one additional squadron for each of those tokens that you spent. So that means that you could have 2 turns in the game where during your squadron activations, you're activating 3 squadrons, or you can just go for broke, spend all your tokens, and activate 4 squadrons per turn in its squadron phase for 1 turn of the game, and just absolutely obliterate your enemy with that kind of just massive front-loaded damage during that squadron phase. Very exciting, very cool. Yeah. And then there's Passo Argente, and Passo Argente, he might be my favorite out of all of these just because of the way that it plays. So he doesn't have a lot of effect in the early game, and kind of a negative effect in the middle game for the player, because every time that you flip a command dial, you put a matching token on his card. And once he has all 4 of the tokens, then when you reveal command dial, you get another command dial, which is huge. It turns your ship into an absolute monster. So the trade-off for that is that you need to make all of those commands happen. So, you know, your first turn, it could be anything. Your second turn, it's whittled down a little bit. And then turns 3 and 4, your opponent probably knows what you're doing, and they can counterplay it. They can, you know, move a ship away so they don't get fired. They can do whatever it is they need to do. And that's interesting because, you know, if you have Passel, then you can just say, well, I'm not going to do that. And then you throw them completely off guard, or you can just stick to the plan and a couple turns later, you're a monster. So really, I think that Passel makes that ship a target early on. Maybe they're just going to avoid it so they don't have to deal with it in the end. And again, lots of counterplay, lots of decisions to make. And I think upgrades like that are especially interesting.
Yeah, indeed. And I think this is an example where sort of changing things up a little bit, it has less to do with that immediate short-term gain and is more of a long-term investment. But it is, as you alluded to, sort of making you a little bit predictable. And if you're really trying to get that bonus as quick as you can, you know, I mean, by turn 4, your opponent knows exactly what you're going to do because you have only one, you know, type of, you know, dial left that you want to pick. So again, it's, you know, sort of changing things up a little bit, you know, adding some different personality into what these characters do as upgrades, but at the same time also sort of following that separatist theme of, well, you know, we're efficient, but maybe we're a little predictable here.
Yeah.
Sweet. Cool.
Before we move on,
I was going to say, yeah, Gavin, you may have a perspective because you probably recognize a lot of these cards from having gone through approving art and seeing, you know, print proofs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't have gameplay perspective per se. I think you guys covered that pretty well, but I just kind of wanted to give a little behind the scenes. I'm not going to make, you know, pull up all the cards again, but it's been really fun working on Clone Wars with our art director, Preston Stone, and he's done a great job. And it's been really unique because so much of the prequel era is really covered in the cartoon, right? And the cartoon is very stylized in Armada. The art is very not stylized. It's not your Saturday morning cartoon art. It's very realistic. And so it's been really fun collecting reference of Tamura Morrison as the clone and really looking closely at all the clone models of like Clone Captain Silver and, you know, and Wolf especially, and what makes them unique, what are their defining features, and really trying to apply that to a realistic person has been really fun. And the artists have really come through and done a great job with that. Other things you may have noticed that are like kind of fun, small things is with the Separatist cards, Passel, Argente, and Sandhill, and previously spoiled, I believe, Shu Mai, are all clearly in the Separatist Council room arguing over a war table, and it's all from the same scene. It doesn't, you know, make one piece of art or anything, but they're all just yelling at each other, and it kind of really helps define that thematic gameplay a little bit. And we always try and add a little peek into it via the art as well for those that appreciate those types of Easter eggs.
Well, and I can say as a developer too, oftentimes when we have really great art, that helps inspire good game design too. You're like, this piece is so cool. Like, you know, it helps bring out that character, and it inspires you to do that too with the mechanic design as well. So, you know, I think definitely I always love the art that I get to see, you know, come in, you know, when we have art coming in from our freelancers and stuff like that, because it's cool to see for sure.
Yeah,
and Go for it, Plumber.
I was just going to say the art is so important because when you open the box for your miniatures, that's the first thing you really see because the miniature's either not built or it's not on its base yet. You know, you have to do some assembly with that before you can get the full effect of how cool it is. But yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is just as we step into the X-Wing reveals here, it's been a lot of fun also working with Preston. We started literally on the same day, and we both have been working hard on X-Wing specifically to really make the ship cards stand out and be unique from each other and not just always ship with stars, because those get kind of boring, not only for the artists to work on them, but you know, for your eyes, they all kind of blend together. We really wanted to make each card have a unique punch to it. So let's move on to X-Wing.
Yes, let's do that. We got to talk. We love Armada, but we got to talk about some X-Wing too here. These spoilers have also been posted on Twitch as well, so you can go check them out and follow along as we talk about them. We're going to talk about a couple ship cards from the Squadron packs. So we can go ahead and start with the Republic, or no, not Republic, the Rebel and the Scum ones. I just as a by way of an overview of these packs, you know, I'm real excited about these Squadron packs. I think, you know, it's cool seeing us return to sort of the original three factions of the game of X-Wing 1.0. You know, they have a place in my heart, and I'm sure they do in yours as well if you're a longtime X-Wing player. But then also sort of what we alluded to as well with, you know, the Armada stuff really touching on the Clone Wars here, like these X-Wing expansions really are bringing in more content from the Rebels series. You know, that's a great well of characters and battles and ships, you know, that are a part of that sort of Rebellion era. So these Squadron packs are also sort of a love letter to the Rebels series as well. So yeah, let's talk about some ships here. So first up, we've got, let me go to my notes here, Netrum Pollard. So I'm a big fan of B-Wings. I, you know, love flying B-Wings. They fly in a way you wouldn't expect for a ship that, even though it's on a small base, is like that large and seems to be that, doesn't really seem to be very maneuverable, very sort of weirdly asymmetric, but man, barrel rolling with the B-Wing is great. And Netrum Pollard lets you pull off some pretty sick moves to that 180. So he can't do 360 no scopes, but he can maybe do 180 no scopes for you. So it does come with the cost. You know, there's that handing out a stress token, but being able to barrel roll and then flip is pretty cool. So, you know, it's just something cool you can pull off. And that's a theme with a couple of these is, you know, like, oh, you know, it's a big part of X-Wing is sort of, you know, being able to pull off moves and maneuvers that put you into those positions where you're able to capitalize on, you know, a shot against your opponent. And, you know, B-Wings can carry a lot of firepower. So being able to get into that position, you know, can really, well, in some cases, win you the game perhaps. So he's super cool. I'm excited to play him. I think moving on here, we also got a new A-Wing pilot to talk about. It is Sabine Wren in an A-Wing. And Sabine here is, I think, I would say she's playing towards just kind of some good, just efficiency. It does have a little bit to do with maneuvering as well, because, you know, you don't want to be in the enemy ship's firing arc, but you want to get yourself in that range one position. And then, I mean, getting an evade or a hit just straight up, changing one of your dice straight up, that's pretty powerful. That's a real good effect. And so Sabine is very much like, you know, efficiency, you know, upping that damage and that, you know, sort of survivability with a ship that, you know, doesn't have a lot of damage output. And, you know, depending on how your green dice go, maybe doesn't have a lot of survivability, you know, only has 2 hull, 2 shields. But it also plays into her character of being sort of that short range brawler a little bit. You know, she uses pistols, she uses thrown explosives, you know, she wants to get in close like that. So I feel like the ship does a good job of sort of capturing how Sabine would probably fly an A-Wing.
She's that classic Mandalorian warrior, daughter of Mandalore.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, you got to watch out for the Mandalorians. They mean business for sure. So those are both two of the rebel ships that I'm really excited to play. You know, again, there's some interesting sort of maneuvering synergies there that they're playing around with. Um, but I also have to talk about Scum ships because Scum is actually the faction that's nearest and dearest to my heart. That is the one that I played the most. And back in 1.0, like, man, the Hawks were, I definitely always have, I don't know about you, Plumber, but like when I play games, even competitively, like I'm always drawn to that sort of off meta jank. And like I played Hawks so much, even though they were like quote unquote bad. So I'm happy to see anything with the Hawks. And like this one, like it's making it cool too, because it's got that sweet black paint job. Um, so I'm excited about this ship, because, you know, like I said, anything with the Hawk, and I think especially too, this new pilot here reviewing, Tupusk, plays into that sort of scum vibe of messing with your opponent. You know, like the classic scum hawk pal, you know, stealing your opponent's tokens, you know, like that's like the epitome of a scum ship. You know, it may not be that efficient, but like it's going to mess with your opponent. It's going to play that mind game. And this does exactly that, but in sort of like a, you know, like a 2.0 thing. You know, this is as much as I'm talking about jank, this is also very much a meta counter. You know, the charge tokens, force tokens, like those are very powerful effects in 2.0. You know, especially on certain characters, certain ship cards, or pilots, I should say, and certain abilities too. You know, that rely on those tokens. And so being able to deny your opponent the ability to sort of reuse those is pretty powerful. Now, if your opponent doesn't have any, then well, he's not really going to do anything. But like, really, like, how often is that going to happen? Like, these are important effects, and if your opponent doesn't have these at all, I mean, you're probably doing pretty good, actually. You know, if by taking this pilot, your opponent has like decided not to have any ships with that, then I don't know, maybe you're already winning.
And for those that don't know, this character actually comes from the Caleb Doom early Kanan Jarrus comics for, you know, post Order 66, and so his ability here is pretty unique too. He's the one that tattles on when he finds out that Caleb Doom is actually an escaped Padawan. So he's kind of throwing a wrench into the works, so to speak, of Caleb trying to get away and do what he wants, right? So another thing I'll say is that paint scheme is from that comic series, and that's what's featured in the box with cool green engine glow.
Oh yeah, gotta get that green engine glow. You don't see that very often. But yeah, so like that, you know, like as I said, these expansions are sort of love letters to Rebels. The Scum one in particular, also in a way, it's, you know, heavily influenced by the Kanan Jarrus comics, which is pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, let's talk about everybody's favorites, the Imperials, and we got a spicy set of ships here. I think we just have to talk about Darth Vader first. I think, like, you know, people wondered if this was coming, and here it is. It is Darth Vader in a TIE Defender, and it is exactly as disgusting as you thought it would be. Well, I don't know, maybe not quite. We have an article on our website that you should check out. If it's not up, it should be up soon, talking about sort of the design process that went into you know, pairing the best Imperial fighter with the best Imperial pilot, you know, and what it took to sort of balance that. And, you know, sort of, we took our time, you know, we really put a lot of work into just this one pilot card. So definitely check that out. But it's super exciting to see, for sure. I mean, it is a terror to behold on the table, that's for sure.
I think the developers really started with it as worse, as terrible as a terror as it could be on the table, as hard hitting as they wanted it to be, and they kind of peeled back the layers from there. And we're like, where can we comfortably let this sit on the table?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that's a good point. And a little window into design work. I mean, that's how I do a lot of design as well, is start with it turned up to 11, knowing you're going to have to dial it back, you know. And I think you know, it's cool to see too, again, you know, sort of a nod to what happens in Rebels, because at one point Darth Vader himself takes out almost the entire Phoenix Cell fleet, you know, and so
In one shot.
yeah, watch out for Darth Vader. Yeah, well, not literally one shot, but like in one ship, you know.
Like a
so
strafe.
yeah, watch out. Yeah, a couple, like two strafes or something like that. I forget, but yeah, cool. Well, let's talk about some of these other guys who, sorry, they're not Darth Vader, but you know they're pretty cool too. So the other defender here we have to talk about is Captain Dobbs, and he's pretty cool because he plays around with I think two things you don't see as much, which is ion as an effect that's not like related to ion cannons, you know, or even ion as a offensive thing, you know, to apply to an enemy ship, you know, he uses ion as a cost basically. And the other thing he does that's interesting is he's kind of a Imperial support ship, you know. There aren't as many ships in the Imperial faction that sort of buff ships around them. I mean, you have a few key characters, some like TIE Swarm synergies, but that sort of faction identity is more of a Rebel or Republic thing. But this guy being a captain, you know, he has, you know, other squadrons, other pilots he's leading. So he sort of takes that role a little bit. So this is an interesting sort of variation on what you might see in the Imperial faction. So I think that's pretty sweet. Gavin, I don't know, you may be able to comment on where this guy comes from in the lore.
You would call me out on that. I was so I was trying to remember. Don't you know, hold me to this, but I think he's from Rebels. I think he's from Skystrike Academy. I think he's like the second in command instructor type of guy, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, you could always look it up online.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. So let's talk about. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was just going to apologize for my dog. And if you come to the after party later on in the series, perhaps I will show him to you.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I was on the fence, but now I'm going to be there. All right. Let's talk about not a defender. Let's talk about an interceptor. Let's talk about Lieutenant Lauren. So, this guy I alluded to before, that we've got, you know, several of these pilots that just play around with, hey, maneuver in a cool way you wouldn't be able to normally. And this guy's very much that. He's nice and straightforward, but like the sort of opportunities that he opens up by being able to barrel roll with that template, like you can end up now in a whole bunch of places you wouldn't normally be able to end up in. So it's a very simple effect, but it then puts the onus on the player to be like, oh, what can I do with this? You know, and I always think those designs are super interesting. And it also plays with your opponent a little bit too, because you've those options have branched now into where you can end up. You become less predictable for your opponent because of the different sort of places you can land when using his ability. So it's nice to have some in there that are straightforward, but like open up interesting gameplay opportunities.
This kind of allows allows the Imperials to kind of play around with that side slip maneuver that we introduced with the Separatist faction, because that's basically what this is. Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Plumber, you were going to say something about surprise interceptor.
Yeah, I just said it's the surprise interceptor.
Right, exactly. I mean, nobody wants an interceptor as a surprise. That's a bad surprise, let's be honest. Cool. Well, that is the reveals that we had left from the Skystrike Academy, the Phoenix Cell Pack, and then the Collaborators and Conspirators. I'm going to get the name wrong, but
Fugitives and Collaborators. I'm sure there are a few conspirators in there as well.
That's actually true. Sweet, but we do have one other reveal that we would like to talk about. So Gavin, I have a question for you, which
Yeah.
is, what do you call two squids who look exactly the same?
Oh, that's a good one. Calamar twins.
Close. They are identical.
Oh my god, I love that.
Uh,
I'm putting that in my back pocket.
Plumber, I have a question. I have a question for you. What does it take to make a squid laugh?
Better jokes than yours?
Oh, I know this one.
I'm kidding. It's good. What you got?
Close. Tentacles. So here's the real question: why am I having these terrible puns here? Well, they're all squid related. Is because we have a new ship to announce for X-Wing, and it is, for lack of a better term, a giant flying squid. Gavin, would you like to show off a model I believe you have at your desk?
Here
Yes.
it is. We have.
So a new huge ship.
Oh my gosh, it's backwards on the screen. It's very hard for me. Here is the Trident Class assault ship for the Separatist Alliance. And I have a version that's not behind shiny plastic, so you can see it better. This is a ship we're very proud of in terms of production. It was very challenging for the sculpting team to make. It even has some moving limbs, which is pretty cool, something we like to try and push for in second edition. It is a huge ship that you can field to both your Separatist and your Scum and Villainy squadrons.
Yeah, and I think we have some ship cards we can put up as well for people to see. It's super cool, super detailed. I mean, the paint job itself, there's a lot of work that went into the color scheme for that thing.
I'm just going to hold it.
I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, it is my favorite thing that I've helped produce. It is one of two ships that I've been trying to bring to X-Wing that have made it to X-Wing. We have not announced the other one yet, but this one is super awesome, and I'm so happy we made it. And it's a lot of fun to play. It's got a lot of weird, unique things because it's a weird, unique ship. If we're gonna put up the cards, the Scum and Villainy art piece is one of my favorite art briefs that I've ever written.
Yep.
While we look for that graphic, there we go. So there's the Separatist card.
Yeah, and these.
Go for it.
These are going to be on Twitter later too. That's all I was going to say.
So we have the art
Gavin,
piece.
which way does this ship fly?
So that was actually something that went back and forth in development, whether or not it should move this way to grab onto its prey, or whether it should move this way like a squid does. And it ended up moving mantle first. It does have some forward-facing cannons, but then once you get in close, you get to use these fun guys, the tractor tentacles, which you'll learn more about, I'm sure, in some future articles. It's a fun ship that you want to get in close and deal a lot of damage, but you can also outfit it to be longer range and survivable that way. So it's got options for you.
Yeah.
Do we have the second card?
Beak as its main weapon.
Yep. So I don't know if we can.
Yeah, one of the possible hard points is a drill beak in the center. So it's an interesting sort of gameplay. Yeah, you can see it on the model right there. It's an interesting sort of gameplay where to go fast, you go, mantle first, but you actually want to turn around or maneuver yourself so that you actually are able to hit enemies with your, I guess, rear-facing weapons. There's hard points on the tentacles, and then there's a hard point in the center for that beak, or for some long-range options as well. So you have some different play possibilities there.
Here's the art of the giant squid versus whale space attack. Lawless pirates showing off the drill beak, just breaching that hull and depositing its crew inside to wreak havoc.
Yeah. So one last thing we want to also mention about it is because it is usable for epic play. It comes with some new scenarios designed just for this. And we've got cards from one of them that we want to show off. which we will have on screen in a second. But it is basically, yeah, there you go. This is a deck, a AI deck, if you will. And there's a scenario where you basically hunt this ship. It is a Leviathan hunt. You're trying cooperatively to take down a rogue Trident. And you have this AI deck of different effects for the Trident that you reveal each round that sort of automates what it does, whether it moves to attack or disappears into a nebula, and you have to, while you're flying around, have to watch out for tentacles just popping out and grabbing you and hitting your ship. And it's really pretty awesome.
It's very Jaws-like to play through. It's very anxiety-inducing. It's a lot of fun.
I can't wait.
And this is this really came out of an earlier endeavor that we pushed forward, was that public alpha of the solo play that the community really helped us out with. Put out those rules, and you gave us lots of feedback, and that really helped fuel the design of this. So that's your hard work, community, paying off.
Thank you. But it's super cool. It's cool that's a cooperative mode. Again, touching back on what Plumber was saying earlier about, sort of OP, like we really want to encourage different modes of play. An epic play for X-Wing is a great place to do that. And so, of course, this expansion was an amazing opportunity to do that. And this is one of two scenarios that come with the Trident. So you can look forward to reveals for another one as well. One thing I did want to hint at, we're not going to reveal anything else here for the Trident specifically. We have future articles that has lots of sweet upgrade cards that you're going to get to see. But it also will include some fan favorite characters, including, I guess, one of the studio's favorite characters from the Clone Wars, which is Riff Tamson, a literal shark man. The OG Street Shark. Yep. Mm-hmm. He will be appearing as crew, so look forward to him and some other fan favorite characters finally coming to X-Wing as well in the form of upgrade cards. So there's a lot of exciting things in this expansion. I love the miniature. I'm definitely going to have to get one of these just for my shelf. I mean, I will play it too, though. The scenario is a lot of fun. So super looking forward to this and really excited to show it off.
Definitely a mantelpiece.
Oh, I see what you did there. Cool. Well, that is it for our All Wings Report in stream. Moving on from that terrible joke. We're done with the squid jokes. But thank you all for tuning in. You can look forward to more content at 4 p.m. Pacific time. We've got more MiniStravaganza stuff going on. You can find our schedule on our website as well. So check that out. You can also find the Unconventional Warfare OP event that we talked about there as well. And then on Twitter too, you can check out, and I think other social sites too, you can check out all these cool cards we've been talking about, pour over the images and the text and the spoilers. So again, want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Gavin. Thank you, Plumber, for joining me and talking about this sweet stuff. So thank you, everyone. And
thanks, everyone.
Look forward to additional streams. See you later.
Well then, that was interesting. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We are definitely going to run through all of that because X-Wing actually got some news. Armada didn't get any. Well, to be fair, Armada got a whole bunch of news. It just happened before the stream started, so all they did was kind of rehash the stuff that we've already talked about. But that's still pretty. We got a lot. We got a lot to talk about. So, if you guys are just tuning in, we just concluded the AMG stream. We were watching it. We've got a lot of things. It's funny because everything they talked about, or just about, was kind of spoiled already, right? So it is a little bit funny. What I'm gonna do is I am going to add all the new files. And we'll run through it all again. All right, let's see. Do we have all the new stuff? Yeah, we got all the new stuff. All right. All right, good. Let's run through all the Armada stuff again. So if you guys are just joining late, lots of new Armada. We got basically a small spread from all 4 of the ships in Wave 10 was just revealed. So that is exciting. They basically talked about these. Now, I want to talk about some other things from this stream because there were a lot of people in stream that were in the chat and stream that were very disappointed. One of those reasons is that they didn't talk about anything past, like there was no new announcements, no hints at the future, and no talking about who's working on Armada. We did get, so we had, Luke Eddy, Gavin Duffy, and Michael Plummer. Now, I know who Gavin Duffy is. I've interacted with Gavin Duffy before. Gavin Duffy's been part of the team for a long time. But I'm not familiar with Michael Plummer, so I don't know what he has worked on ahead of time. But I don't know exactly what game he's working on specifically, because at first I thought he was maybe working on X-Wing, and because he didn't say like I'm Armada developer or X-Wing developer. He just introduced himself as a developer at Atomic Mass Games. So is he like helping out, or is he full time in a position? Like they weren't really clear about that. I feel like they were especially vague about what his role is. Is he former Privateer Press? Okay, it sounded like he was kind of already with AMG and just kind of moving like basically just chipping in and helping out. I don't think that they were implying that he is like going full time for one game or another game, and so that's kind of still a big question mark right now, because I think a lot of players like to know who our developers are and like what game is he working on, and can one guy be a lead developer for 2 different games? Is he the Armada and the X-Wing guy? And it's like the stuff that Gavin Duffy does isn't exactly like expansion development. He's doing, and they talked about their positions and stuff, but he's not the one being like, all right, here's how I want this game mechanic to work. Like it's a little more complicated than that. So I feel like you need, X-Wing used to have lots of developers work on these games and design this stuff and play test this stuff and and do all of these things. He's working on Star Wars Destiny. Destiny doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, I really wish Michael Gurness and Brooks would be there to continue with Armada development. It's funny because I mentioned them in the chat, and very quickly thereafter, Atomic Mass Games chimed in and is like, keep the chat on topic. And I'm like, ooh, I don't think they like mentions of Gurness and Brooks, which is really interesting. I don't know if that, I mean, granted, that's just estimation. I mean, there was a lot of people asking questions and a lot of that sort of stuff going on. So it, could have been anything. But anyway, so let's run through some of the stuff. We are also doing giveaways. We are going to be announcing the winner for the Imperial Assault Ahsoka Tano. After we run through all the stuff, we're going to run through everything. We'll announce those winners, and we'll announce the MC-80 assault carrier. We'll be putting that one up. So if you want the Ahsoka Tano, let's do this now, and then I'll announce the winner at the end of the stream. Give me a hashtag Ahsoka in the chat. I will pick a winner that'll get announced at the end of the stream, and then we can go ahead, and so I can kind of scroll through those. All right, so while I'm talking about these, leave a hashtag Ahsoka in the chat, and then we'll go from there. If you want the MC-80s, I'm going to put one of these up on Patreon and one of these on Discord. So you have to be in my Discord, and I'll mail it out to you for free. What'll happen is I'll post a photo. All you have to do is react to it with a double critical emoji. You'll see other examples in there. It's really simple. You go to the giveaways channel in the C5 Discord, which is my Discord. It's what does it even stand for? Crabbok's cooperative channel for competitive and casual, or something like that. I don't know. I wanted it to have a C5 on there, so that's the new name. But it's Yeah. So basically, that's how that is going to work. And let's see. And then the other one's going to go up on Patreon. And also tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? We're going to be announcing the winner for the Armada upgrade card collection. Also, this one is a Patreon exclusive. And so patrons are already able to enter for that. All right, so we've got Admiral Yularen with the Pelta. He is going to be our nav command, or I'm sorry, our squadron command guy, or one of them. They actually revealed a couple of squadron commanders. So if you did a token, you get to activate an additional squadron, which is always good. It's going to be good for maybe small ship token generation stuff, or any kind of token generation stuff. But he's if you're just doing regular commands, maybe not the best. There's so much more in like Clone Wars Armada that really emphasizes tokens, and I don't know how easy it's going to be to get tokens everywhere. But he gives you the repair squadron ability. So when you resolve engineering commands, you can spend 2 points to repair squadrons. And now I don't believe there's a limit on this, because other repair effects don't have a limit. So if you have 4 points, you could potentially repair 2 squadron hull, whether it's the same squadron or one here and one there, which I think is going to be really helpful. We got Addie Gallia. She is going to let you, basically, for every defense token you spend during an attack, you can suffer some of the remaining damage on an adjacent hull zone's shields. And if you do that, the rest of the damage goes through any remaining shields to your hull. So which is going to be good for like attacks that maybe don't have critical effects in there. Although, granted, maybe it's got the default critical and you just used contain. I think she'll actually be good with damage control officer. But then again, she's an officer, so you'd need 2 officer slots to do that. Ooh, that's interesting. We got Clone Captain Silver, who is going to start with a nav token. He requires a nav token to exhaust, so you're only going to be able to use him twice. And when you execute a maneuver during your determined course step, if you have not resolved the nav command during this activation, you can exhaust him to increase or decrease your speed by up to 3. So he can brake in a hurry. He can speed up in a hurry. Strange that he comes on a ship that has a max speed of 2, however, because you would never, well, I say never, but you'd probably, wait a second. In theory, my spider sense is tingling. Okay, my crabby sense is tingling, and I don't know what am I doing. The Pelta has a max speed of 2. Comes with this guy adjusting by 3, right? At best, if you wanted to slow down to speed 0 at speed 2, that would still only be 2 moves. This guy makes no sense in the Pelta, unless there's a title that increases the Pelta's speed to 3. I bet you. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling it. The Pelta's going to have... What do you think? I think the Pelta is going to have a title that increases the speed. That gives it a speed 3. That's what I think. Will you have to let me know if you think I'm right or wrong? That's cool. All right. Then we get our Venator. We've got Plo Koon. He's a 26-point commander. When a friendly squadron is attacking a ship at distance 1 to 3 of a friendly ship, if the attacker may add a blue die set to an accuracy to its attack pool, it can't be re-rolled or changed. So again, I think he's gonna be great for bombers, but he's gonna be good for just about anything. It's only when you're attacking a ship, though, so you got to get those enemy squadrons down to be able to make this work. Although, it'd be pretty good for Anakin either way, right? Anakin can just ignore engagement, so that's pretty nice. Friendly squadrons without Adept gain Grit while they're at distance 1 of a friendly squadron with Adept, which means he basically gives all Jedi intel. So really good anti-squadron and Jedi support character. To go along with him, and he synergizes with both of the other cards that they showed us. I see some of you guys. Oh, I think that just means he can be used on other ships. Of course it does. naturally, anything that comes in here, you want it to have synergy with the whole rest of the fleet and different build ideas on different ships and all of that. But it just, why wouldn't you have put him? Usually you get cards that have upgrades that are designed to work well with this ship and other ships, but this ship specifically is supposed to be like, a good, like, he just doesn't make sense. Like, you would have put him with the Pelta, which can go, with the Venator, which can go speed 3, as opposed to with the Pelta, right? Like it doesn't make sense. Somebody's gonna make a meme of that. I bet you. Anyway, I've just doomed myself. So, all right. So Wolf as a squadron support officer, he is going to take a squadron command to exhaust. Again, he's one of these. You get to use him twice, and then if you want to use him more than twice, you have to pay. You do a squadron command. You may exhaust this card. If you do, each of your squadrons that without adept gain assault. So he lets basically your clone squadrons have the assault keyword, which means you can spend a hit die when you're attacking a ship to give them a raid token of your choice. Very cool ability. It's going to be especially nasty. Now, he's going to be especially nasty too because the clones, like, Separatists have Dooku, which is super nasty, but like now the clones have a kind of an asymmetric kind of Dooku-like effect where you can have a lot of assault out there. If squadrons that have assault already upgrade the assault keyword because they can spend either a hit or an accuracy. There are no squadrons with assault, so that means that at least the plan is, future-proofed enough that they anticipate the possibility of Republic getting assault squadrons, and I think that sounds like a LAT to me. There's other ships we talked about earlier in the Twilight. It could be that way as well. All right. And Ahsoka. Ahsoka also works well with Plo Koon. Squadron command. Each of up to 3 generic or otherwise non-unique squadrons that you activate gain snipe 1 for each die in their anti-squadron armament, up to a maximum of snipe 3 until the end of its activation. So, and that's most of these squadrons are going to be able to snipe 3, and of course, those are going to be the ones you activate, so that's not bad. Oh my gosh, I just realized something else. It's so funny that Snips gives snipes. Isn't that something? Like, again, Krabby sense is tingling. Snips gives snipes. That's not even that awesome. That's just cute. I'm happy as new Armada stuff. Like, new Armada news makes me go crazy. So, like, dude, Snips gives snipes. That's funny. Or is it not? I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it's really not even a thing, and I'm just kind of hashing things together. I don't know. I think that's hilarious that Snips gives snipes. She snipes now. That's so funny. I don't know. I'm a happy crab. Yeah, he's a happy crab. I'm drunk on Armada stuff. Maybe. Oh man, Okay. We get the Providence, and we got Trench, who is going to remind you a little bit of Thrawn's style of play. You're going to set dials. You get to set 4 dials at the beginning of the game. Put them on him face down. They can be set to any command. And yeah, that's the start of each ship phase. You may reveal and discard one of the command dials from this card. Let's say, and if you do, until the end of the round, when a friendly ship spends the same command, a matching command, but they only use a token to resolve that particular command, they can treat it as if they'd done a token and a dial. Really good if you've got the tokens to pair up. It's going to probably work best with engineering, because engineering gives you generally gives you the most overall effects when you combine both a dial and a token. And that's just without any upgrades. There are other upgrades and things that will synergize tokens and make them a little bit more effective. Like we've seen some of the things, if you use a token to activate, like, granted, it's cross-faction, but like Yularen, if you happen to use a token to activate a squadron, you get +1. And so, like, there's going to be probably more things that make this even better. But yeah, so that's a really cool effect. I like it because if you've got enough stuff to be able to put consistent tokens out on your ship, this can give you a really tremendous advantage. But it does require a little bit more of a specific plan, and the more specific certain plans have to be, the easier they are to disrupt. and his biggest weakness is going to be those raid tokens. I feel like they're really trying to push raid tokens as a thing, and it's I think we're getting into like, kind of like rock scissors paper now with Armada, you know, and it's like, you know, if nobody does it, then somebody like Trench. If nobody in your local meta is using anything to give raid tokens out, Trench could be really, really strong, you know, and then like Rock becomes overpowered. And then somebody runs Paper, which is like, hey, I'm going to run Dooku. Oh, all of a sudden that really like cripples Trench's ability. You know, and so like that happens. You know, like, so things like that, like, and it's kind of goes back to the same thing with like squadrons versus no squadrons. If everybody, like for a long time, everybody in my local area stopped running squadrons, and so we were just maxing ships, and then like somebody shows up with like a B-wing swarm and just crushes everybody, you know, it's like this checks and balances, and Trench is going to be a really good factor to maybe push people to start considering running assault or raid token generation, because yeah, that'd be pretty cool. We've got TI-99, and he's an officer at 4 points, while a friendly unactivated squadron at distance 1 to 3 gains counter 3. While a friendly unactivated squadron is that, it gains counter 3, or if it's already got counter, just increase it by 1. I feel like this would be really bad for squadrons that only have counter 1, because then they're like, oh. After it performs a counterattack, toggle its activation slider to the activated side. I guess it's not. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's going to be good if that squadron would die anyway, because they still get to do the counterattack. But it does potentially allow you to, you know, not activate certain squadrons if you use it. But again, counterattacking is a choice. You don't have to counterattack. We've got who I thought was Tickies, but they did actually pronounce it's pronounced TKs. That's one of the things that came. And he could be really fun for when you want to just laser focus on a specific type of command. When you reveal a command, you may place a matching command token on this card if you do gain a command token of your choice. So you can gain a command token of your choice potentially every round. During the command phase, if you have a command token on this card, you must choose that command on each dial that is to be assigned to you and show those dials to your opponent. So you might eventually have to, like, and the reason it's like show those dials, because sometimes you may have to set all of your dials. You may run some kind of card that discards all of your dials and things like that. But I like him if I just want to run concentrate fire over and over on a ship, and I still want to be able to get like squadron commands, or still want to be able to get engineering tokens and things like that. So yeah, I like him. And then Recusant. Oh man, I love the front arc on this ship. I'm excited for these. We're like less than a month, I think, until these things come out, which is exciting. Martuk, maybe my favorite new commander, and they kind of misspoke in the live stream on how this guy works, and that's kind of, granted, it's a live stream in there, and they've got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I don't know if it's kind of the case of like, hey, these aren't the people that worked on it, so maybe they're not clear on exactly how it works. Because after one read through, I think we're a little more, because they basically said he gives you an extra red die if you're attacking a ship, or if you're attacking a hull zone that's shielded. But if you're attacking a hull zone that's unshielded, you lose a die, and that's not what this card says. It says if you're attacking a hull zone that's shielded, yes, you get an extra red die. But if you're attacking a ship that has no shields remaining, then you must cancel a die. And that's a big difference, because you can still be attacking an unshielded zone, but the ship has shields elsewhere. And in that case, you would do neither effect. So this guy has 3 states. Hey, beginning of the early game, I'm attacking a side that has shields. Okay, boom. I get an extra red die, which is awesome, by the way. I love this guy. This guy is probably going to be my favorite commander, because I love red dice. I love extra red dice. I love requiring so many red dice in an attack pool that I must borrow one from somebody else, which is one reason why I really love Ramadi for the Empire. Did they even give a rough estimate of Wave 11? No, they would not talk about anything else for Armada. They did not even hint about anything else for Armada, which is worrisome. But Doesn't mean that they won't. You know, I don't think they're looking to end this game anytime soon, but it would have been nice if they would have been willing to say something, you know. And when people were asking, they kind of told us to shut up. So that's not exactly how it went. But I don't think they have anything else ready to go. I don't think they have an Armada developer right now, and I think that's what it is. I think they're still looking for an Armada developer, and then have like a long way to go. I think it's going to be 2 years before we see another Armada wave. That's what I think. I think they still have to hire somebody and have to start working on Armada stuff. Yeah, all right, let's move on. Pastel Argente. When you reveal a commander, you may place a matching command token on this card. Then, if you've got one of each, you may gain an additional command dial of your choice. He'll take a little while to get going, unless, of course, you can pass him some tokens earlier. If you're running, like, something like if you're running CommsNet, you want to give this guy tokens right away, and you want to hope that nobody has anything to strip tokens, like a tractor beam, right? So yeah, but dude, extra command dials of your choice every turn. This guy could be great. He could be groovy. What are the next predicted what are the next predicted Armada ship? I do videos about what the next Armada ships all the time. I think the next wave should be a mixed wave of like one ship for each of the 4 factions, and or maybe a mixed squadron pack that gives each of the factions like 2 new squadrons. I think that would be cool. We've got San Hill. He starts with 2 squadron tokens on his card. At the start of the squadron phase, you may discard any number of tokens from this card. For each token you discard this way, 1 additional squadron at close range of you may be activated during each of your fleet's turns to activate squadrons this phase. So he's good if you don't have enough squadrons during the squadron phase. Like if you don't have enough squadron commands during the main game, I think he'll be good with that hyperwave signal generator. So yeah, there you go. You can just do a little bit more than everybody else because he's got more money than everybody else. So he's just buying. He's buying the cheat. And then he'll be like one of those officers that has no purpose. Once you've paid his tokens, you can't do anything else with him. So if they ever come up with like a way to, like how Vader can throw officers out the airlock, he'll be a good candidate for things like that. All right, now we're on to, and that was all the stuff they spoiled before the stream started. Then so the stream starts. They really didn't. I kind of talked about Luke, Gavin, and Mr. Plumber. They only referred to him as Plumber, so I guess that's kind of how they, I guess he doesn't go by Michael as often, but yeah. So they talked. So they talked a lot about like the design process and what goes into putting this stuff on screen, and all that was interesting. But it wasn't like the spoilery stuff that I think a lot of people were really looking for. Let's see. I took a couple of notes. They did talk at length about the new organized play event. If you guys haven't already seen that, it's on atomicmassgames.com. It was out this morning. We talked about it in the last stream. It's just like if you play games locally this weekend and submit them, there's a chance one side will win, another side will win. Marvel Crisis Protocol also has one going. Basically, it's just like here's some alternate rules to play in your games. You can get some extra bonuses. And I think I have a link to that down in the video description below. But yeah, so also we have they identified the X-Wing alt art is going to be Sense, and the Armada alt art is going to be for Intensify Firepower. Great card, by the way. Great card. And so that much is cool. And and while and then they say, we're going to transition to start talking about X-Wing. But as soon as they did that, this thing drops. The Trident, it drops on like social media, on Facebook and Twitter. It dropped like a half an hour early, right? Like they must have had it queued up to post right at 4 o'clock when they thought they were going to be done, but they weren't done at 4 o'clock. So they finished, or 4 Eastern, right? So it ended up posting way early. But yes, we're getting a new huge ship for X-Wing. This is unbelievable. I did not think that they were going to do this yet. Like this was one of those things I had this on my predictions for Armada, and I think I predicted it as a possibility for X-Wing at one point, but it was like one of those that like, I just don't think they're really going to do this, but they could. And sure enough, they did. And it's going to have moving parts and everything. The Colicoid is the Trident Class assault ship, and it's a dual faction ship. It's probably going to be $100. I don't think we have the price for it up just yet. But yes, dude, it's going to be Separatist and Scum, which is really, really cool. Do X-Wing players actually want huge ships? That's a really good question. I think your tournament level X-Wing players, who are sometimes the most vocal in the X-Wing community, aren't as concerned with huge ships. Granted, it may very well come with some new crew and that are in cards that are like tournament driving. So, but I still play X-Wing, and I want more huge ships, as a matter of fact. So, I think you might find mixed opinions if you poll the greater X-Wing community. I think I tend to cater a little bit more to the casual-friendly type of community rather than the hyper-competitive, right? I think I'm probably more like 60-40 in favor of casual over competitive. That's kind of how I approach a lot of my gameplay, and that I'm more concerned with me and my opponent having fun rather than just stomping somebody into the ground. And I mean, I think that's just a healthy way to approach most gaming. The fly casual mentality kind of works for all games, but I think Epic is a really great way to work that onto your tabletop, because you're usually not playing a tournament. Granted, they can do Epic tournaments; you can absolutely do that. But yeah, you can and you can even work these into regular 200-point games too. That's one of the things with the huge ships when they came out with them. It's like they will be legal in non-tournament play 200-point games. So like that's, granted, it might not be the most fun, but if you want to do it, like that can be something that you make happen. So yeah, it's got 3 attack, it's got 10 hull, 4 shields, 3 energy, and you got the 2 actions. I didn't think we were going to get any new huge ships for a while. I'm surprised. And we get also the Scum version of the card. Again, virtually identical, but great artwork on here. All right, and it's they basically have Tractor Grasp. They have Tractor Grasp. After you perform a Tractor Tentacles attack that hits, the defender gains a Tractor token. The Tractor Tentacles, they kind of talked about how it was going to be something that kind of comes out of the rear of the ship. Like you can see, like it's got that the front arc. It kind of emanates from the midsection, and it's going to move forward. It's going to fly forward in an aerodynamic way. But I guess the Tractor Tentacles are going to possibly attack from maybe the rear or something like that. So I'll have to wait and see how that one. Any X-Wing news? Yes, this is an X-Wing ship. If you guys are just tuning in, they did announce an all-new huge ship that is dual faction, that is both Scum and Separatist. We've got a Separatist card and the Scum card. Really cool. So I mean, that obvious. Also, I want to point out, Gavin Duffy said that this was one of 2 ships he was trying to get into the game. The other one has not yet been announced, confirming that there is yet at least, there are more ships on the horizon. X-Wing development continues, and I mean, it stands to reason that the other one might be Republic. What do you guys think the Republic equivalent might be? Carrion Spike stealth ship, that's a possibility. I think that's something I definitely is coming to Armada. I think the Consular Cruiser is probably the best option for the Republic. It's recognizable. It really is. It's not a heavily armed ship, but I think the Consular Cruiser would make a pretty good. I think it would sell. But I would love an Architans. Right, I would really love an Architans, because if you want to make them all dual faction from now on, like maybe you do a really big X-Wing ship, you do the Architans for the Republic and make it dual faction to the Empire. I mean, look, I think that's a great option, but it would be really big. Granted, we've seen the Nebulon B on the tabletop before. Everybody's printed that out in the same scale that it's not unreasonably big, but it is big, right? Like, look, if we can do a Super Star Destroyer for Armada, they can do an Architans for X-Wing. I'm hoping it's an Architans for X-Wing or a Nebulon B, But the I don't think it's way too big. I mean, we can agree to disagree here. That's absolutely fine. Because I've played games with a Nebulon that's going to be the same size as the Archidons, and it's big, but it's fun. Like, it's too big to play on a 3x3, whereas a lot of the current Epic stuff is playable on a 3x3, but so it becomes much better if you play it on a 3x6. If you play on a 3x3, it's just not going to move. So I think you, yeah, on a 6x3, I think is fine, because I've got battle reports up using a Nebulon. They're a little older, but like Sci-Fi City here in Orlando has one. They pull out sometimes for big events, and it's so much fun. I don't know if they have a sliding scale. They have a half scale in X-Wing, so they're not 1-to-1 compared to the X-Wing. Like what is X-Wing is like 1 to 240 something, and then the Epic scale is 1 to 470 or something like that. But I think it's a specific like half scale for Epic. Granted, there's nothing stopping them from scaling that down just a little bit more for the Ultra Epic, for like something like an Architens. They could, do that like 75% of what it would be compared to the other big ships, but still too big, even on a sliding scale. Someone printed an Architens before. Well, okay, that doesn't mean that FFG couldn't maybe improve where that other person may have. I don't know. Again, maybe it's agree to disagree. I love really, really big stuff. I think it makes for a very, very fun experience. And since AMG is looking to do more fun and narrative things, I think a lot of the competitive players and players on a budget might not like that. So I would hope that they don't put out like a $200 X-Wing ship that has like another Emperor Palpatine crew in it that's like, oh, you have to have this card to be competitive now, but it only comes in the $200 expansion. Like, I hope they shy away from that. I'm not a huge fan of the sliding scale stuff either, but at the end of the day, if it's the only way to get stuff, then I'll still take it. Like this Superstar Destroyer in Armada, we weren't going to get like a scaled version of that, but I like the way that we got it. It's fun. And we get this AI deck with here. This is going to come with 2 scenarios to play. The AI deck is going to be a way that you can have a cooperative, like, hey, let's hunt down this squid and try and kill it. Where have I heard about AI decks before? I wonder. That sounds awfully familiar. For those of you guys who aren't familiar, I have developed AI decks for Armada and for Legion that are available on Crabbok.com. So if you head over to my website, those are free downloads. You can download those and print those out. And you don't even have to print out each card and sleeve them. You can just print it out as a whole sheet and then roll dice if you've got some D&D dice, and you can roll those to kind of pick which card happens to. Well, thank you for the thoughts. Yeah, my throat's actually doing all right now. It hasn't locked up once this whole stream. Although it helps that I had like an hour and a half break in the middle where I didn't have to talk. So right now it's doing well. So, but thank you. Gargling with salt water is helping out a little bit too. My wife's been on me to keep doing that, so I'm gonna abide by her wishes. But yes, and then we got some cool shots of Gavin holding this thing. It's got movable pieces, which is exciting, and he was showing it up close. Looks good. I can't wait to see more. All right, and then so we did get some other. So we got to look at some other cards here. Let's. These were kind of small, but we got Nitram Pollard, Sabine Wren in the A-wing, and Taphusk in the Hawk. So we got a little bit of Rebel and Scum stuff. Taphusk is from the Caleb Doom, and they talked about him kind of being able to use his charge to kind of just stop somebody from recovering their charge or force, which is nasty. Just shut down. Like, no, you don't recover this turn. Which that's kind of surprising. And let's see, what does Pollard do again? She's or he or she, or they are a 3 initiative. After you barrel roll, you may choose a friendly ship that's stressed at range 0 to 1, and then they gain a stress token, and then you rotate 180 degrees. That's like super cool if you can make that work. I like being able to rotate and just spin around. And then it's basically like turning a move into a K turn a little bit. Sabines, while you defend or perform an attack, if your attack is range 1 and in the enemy ship's forward arc, you can change one of your results to a hit or evade. Was that like, that's kind of like Fearless almost. She's because she's a Mandalorian. Of course, it's going to be similar to the Mandalorians. Now, at least with Tapusk, you're only going to be able to do that once every other round, because he's only recharges 1 charge per turn, and it costs 2 charge to activate. Unless it's Tapusk versus Tapusk, and then it's going to be like, no, you don't get to do it. No, you don't get to do it. Then they're just going to be at each other's throats, which would be just a net 0, I guess. All right, let's see. And then we also had some Imperial stuff. Lieutenant Laurier, I think he had already been spoiled. I don't think he's new. Darth Vader in the TIE Defender. They were talking about Vader in a TIE Defender quite a bit. He had already kind of been soft spoiled because he was readable in the background. So they made him just all offense, no defense, kind of. Although he is in the Defender, so you put the right customization on there, and he gets a free evade. So while he can't spend force while defending, he can still spend that evade. But yeah, Vader is going to be a really nasty pilot. 115 points, I believe, is what they said for Vader. So that's gonna be nasty. And then Captain Dobbs, while another friendly ship at range 0 to 1 defends before the neutralize results step, if you are in the attack arc and are not ionized, they gain 1 ion token to cancel. You may gain 1 ion token to cancel a hit result. So he's kind of like a teacher at Sky Strike Academy, defending his students, kind of, sort of, ish, I suppose. Yeah. And then the bendy roll is no longer red. Yeah, that's... Lieutenant Laurier is going to be nice. They called him Lieutenant Lauren, too, so... Again, just minor little things I know I picked up on. I'm like, wait, I think it's Laurier, not Lauren. But... or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's Lauren, and you just pronounce the R. Maybe that's how they pronounce the third R in any word in Star Wars Galaxy is pronounced as an N. No, I'm just teasing. It was a pretty good reveal, pretty good stream. I was hoping we would talk something more about Armada's future rather than just the Wave 10 spoilers, but we did get a lot of stuff to absorb, a lot of stuff to take in. All right, so we got to do some giveaway stuff. The winner for the Ahsoka pack is going to be LC. Congratulations, LC. You will need to just email me at mailcrabbok@gmail.com, and I'll get this out to you. And the other stuff is going up. The MC80s, these are going to go up as soon as the stream is over. I'll put one up on Patreon and one up on Discord. And you can just react to that with a double critical emoji, and that'll enter you to win. I'll announce the winners for all of the Discord stuff on Sunday. So Sunday, we'll announce winners, and you'll be tagged in it if it's a Discord thing, so you don't have to worry about that. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for this stream. Thank you for hanging out. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I will be back at it tomorrow. What is tomorrow's first stream? Let me find that out before I let you guys go, because there's going to be, you'll get the notification. I'll go live before it starts. But tomorrow, I don't think there's any in the morning that I am going to be doing. There's an art panel for Star Wars at 5 Pacific, so 5, 6, 7, 8. That starts at 8, so I might start that at 7. And then there's a Yoda You Seek Yoda panel, and that they're going to be talking about Yoda and painting Yoda. So I'll do that one too. So tomorrow night are going to be the bigger panels, unless there was, of course, a surprise one. I thought there was going to be like a surprise panel between 10 and 12 on their schedule, but they haven't announced anything yet, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. So if there is a surprise panel and it's of interest, I may cover that as well. So if that's 11, it'll be 12, 1, 2. That would be around 2, so maybe 1:30 if there is a surprise panel tomorrow. Don't think so, though. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a great day. Big thanks to my patrons as well. You guys are super awesome. Could not do this without your continued support. If you're interested, check the links in the description below. Thank you. And as always, have a great day.